Some games pass by, but others stay, and this list is made only of those that are still worth every minute. These are 21 solo adventures that still deliver impact, challenge, and personality in 2025. Nothing outdated, nothing forgettable, just titles that marked and continue to be relevant. From epic worlds to intimate stories, each game here has something unique to show. And if you haven't played them yet, you might just find your next favorite. I'm Jax, and if you're new here, welcome to the Play Hunters channel. If you could subscribe to help me grow, I'd be really happy. From one gamer to another. Few games give you freedom and weight in choices as raw as Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. From the very first steps, it's clear that combat is the heart of the game, with a system that values every strike, every dodge, and every giant creature that forces you to think fast or die trying. Climbing a griffin in mid-flight, fighting cyclopes on cliffs, or invading dark caves isn't just a mission, it's survival. The customization is deep, with vocations that completely change your fighting style. It's not just about damage, it's about style, strategy, and knowing how to use the terrain to your advantage. Pawns, AI-controlled companions, bring a dynamic learning system that surprises. They observe, learn, and evolve based on your actions. This creates a strange bond, as if they were echoes of the players scattered throughout the world. The world is vast, but not because it's huge. It's vast because it's dense and unpredictable. The nights are truly dangerous, the exploration rewarding, and there's nothing generic about the creatures or missions. The dungeons have soul, and every path can be your last if preparation is neglected. Dark Arisen remains current, because it delivers combat with identity in a world that challenges without apologizing. When everything seems lost, Tales of Arise lights up, not because of the urgency of the plot, but because of how it delivers with intensity, emotion, and battles that impress from the first fight. The story builds between worlds separated by oppression and revolt, and each region you visit reveals not just a piece of the plot, but also a unique combat style, culture, and challenge. Nothing is recycled. Everything carries its own soul. The real-time battle system is a spectacle in itself. Aerial combos, precise dodges, and group attacks create a rhythm that mixes technique with visual explosions. Characters evolve not only in level, but in dynamics, and the fights become more strategic without ever losing their fluidity. It's a kind of game that rewards thoughtful aggression without becoming repetitive or stuck. The art direction blends anime with dark fantasy, resulting in a living world full of colors, lights, and structures that seem to be paintings in motion. The transitions between combat and narrative are smooth, and the most intimate moments between the characters make everything feel closer, more human. Tales of Arise goes beyond a traditional JRPG. It delivers grandeur with heart and sharp style. If the universe started with a crime of passion, it would have the exact tone of Genesis Noir. Nothing here follows common logic. Time is malleable, space bends, and the narrative unfolds like a visual poem where each act represents a phase of the cosmos. It's noir, it's cosmic, it's experimental. And this mix gives birth to one of the most unique games ever created within the genre. What starts with jealousy and obsession expands to touch the birth of galaxies. The gameplay abandons the conventional and bets on symbolic interactions. Instead of direct action, there's manipulation of ideas, musical notes, particles, and even sensations. Each chapter is a new frame, with its own mechanics that don't repeat, creating a progression where everything changes but nothing disconnects. It's more about intuition than mastery, and that requires a type of attention that goes beyond reflexes. The visual style is composed of fine lines, black and white with subtle touches of color, and slow movements that resemble experimental animations. The soundtrack, full of jazz and ethereal sounds, dictates the rhythm of discoveries and leads the journey with rare elegance. Genesis Noir doesn't try to please everyone. It invites you to experiment with something strange, deep, and singular, as if every moment was a whisper from a place where time hasn't started yet. Forget everything you remember about the series. Darksiders Genesis swaps the camera, changes the pace, and delivers a game with its own soul. The isometric view breathes new life into the chaos, and each battle feels cleaner, more strategic, but still with the franchise's characteristic impact. The action is fast-paced, with explosions everywhere, combined attacks, and a soundtrack that pushes every move forward. It's pure, organized noise in the best sense. The combat revolves around swapping between two characters with distinct styles, one focused on melee attacks, the other on range combat. This alternation fits the frantic pace of the confrontations and helps create natural gameplay variations. The puzzles and platforming appear amid the brawls, giving respite and forcing you to think without breaking the overall intensity of the adventure. The world is fragmented, filled with areas connected by portals and secret paths. The art direction focuses on infernal settings and corrupted structures, with vibrant colors and silhouettes that reinforce the constant urgency. It's a game that knows where it came from, but doesn't settle. It cuts the excess, keeps the style, and delivers a fast-paced, engaging adventure. Darksiders Genesis takes the familiar and transforms it into something new, sharp, and direct. Imagine losing everything overnight: your name, your identity, access to your own mind. Foreclosed creates a world where this is routine, and control is an illusion sold by corporations that see people as data. The story unfolds in a future where brain implants have become a currency of power, and when something goes wrong, a desperate flight for freedom begins. It's pure cyberpunk, but with a graphic style that immediately stands out. The gameplay blends third-person shooting with cybernetic powers, opening room for creativity in combat. Reality shifts, energy fields, device hacking, all become part of survival. The levels are more linear, but within them, possibilities unfold with smart use of abilities. Fast-paced, direct, and full of tense moments. The visual style emulates interactive comics, with sharp cuts, speech bubbles, and flat colors giving the game a strong, unmistakable identity. The transitions between playable scenes and narratives feel natural, like turning pages of a moving digital comic. Metallic sounds, distorted voices, and heavy silences complete the oppressive atmosphere. Foreclosed doesn't try to reinvent the genre. It stylizes, condenses, and delivers something unique, full of personality. Loneliness and companionship walk hand in hand in Ashen, an action RPG that uses simplicity to create something deep and atmospheric. The world seems devoid of color and warmth at first, but soon reveals its understated beauty, with vast landscapes and silhouettes that stand out more for their shape than their detail. It's a place marked by silence, where each step toward the unknown carries meaning. The gameplay echoes the classic Souls-like genre, with methodical combat, precise dodging, and a constant sense of vulnerability. But the twist lies in companionship. Even when playing offline, there's always someone by your side, an AI-controlled partner who helps, revives, and participates in the adventure in almost invisible ways. The progression is steady, with focus more on the journey than immediate rewards. The visual style embraces a minimalist design, with soft colors and faceless characters, creating a mysterious, poetic tone. The buildings are imposing but worn, as if the world has forgotten how they were built. The soundtrack occasionally fills the silence with subtle sounds that enhance the contemplative mood. Ashen doesn't shout, run, or demand haste. It simply invites you to move forward, even when everything around you seems to have stopped. When the world breaks, combat becomes art. Soulstice doesn't settle for generic brawls. It transforms every fight into a choreographed spectacle, with intense attacks, particles flying everywhere, and a pair of protagonists that act as one. The third-person fixed camera highlights the movements in style, while the environment crumbles around. Everything pulses, moves, and wants to take you down, and that's what makes fighting so satisfying. The combat system is aggressive, but requires control. Switching weapons, using abilities, activating fields that affect enemies. Everything demands rhythm, precision, and reading the situation. Some enemies can only be hit with the right field activated, creating a dance between mobility and strategy. The synchronization bar between the two characters also affects performance, turning each strike into a tactical decision disguised as frantic action. The environments are grand, with broken bridges in the sky, floating cities collapsing, and Gothic structures screaming for attention. The palette is dark, but speckled with light effects that intensify the action. The soundtrack is heavy, with beats that match the rhythm of the battles, amplifying the tension. Soulstice delivers combat with soul, challenges with style, and a world that seems to scream as it crumbles, all at once. Some games age, some disappear, and some return even stronger. Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning belongs to the last category. It takes the foundation of classic action RPGs and expands it with total freedom to explore, fight, and shape characters however you want. The world is colorful, vast, filled with mystical creatures and quests piling up like dusty books, each telling a story within another. The combat is the highlight, fast, responsive, and full of variations as you swap weapons, magic, and styles. You can switch between swords, bows, magic, and even heavy weapons mid-fight, with fluid animations that keep the pace intense. The skill trees allow for mixing classic archetypes, creating hybrid classes full of possibilities. It's not just brute force, it's creativity in motion. The visual style blends bright fantasy with detailed architecture, resulting in environments that still catch attention years after the original release. The remaster improves shadows, textures, and performance, but retains the stylized charm that's always been part of the game's identity. The soundtrack carries everything with epic tones and more subdued moments. Kingdoms of Amalur shows that some worlds don't need reinvention, just room to breathe again. When it comes to war and revenge in a devastated land, Middle-earth's Shadow of War still holds a prominent place. The Nemesis system remains one of the boldest ever created, with enemies that remember, evolve, and hold grudges. Every battle with an orc captain tells its own story, and every death, yours or theirs, leaves a visible mark on the world. It's not just combat, it's a cycle of living rivalry that never repeats. The action combines precise strikes, counterattacks, and magical abilities with impressive fluidity. Character progression is marked by constant unlocks and deep customization, while fortresses become the ultimate strategic challenges. Invading, defending, conquering, all require reading the field and knowing the opponent's weaknesses. It's smart brawling, with a touch of management and power building. The environments vary between fire-scorched regions, dark forests, and imposing fortresses, each with a strong visual identity. The oppressive atmosphere is ever-present, but there are moments of dark beauty that highlight the world's contrasts. The soundtrack enhances the sense of urgency and grandeur, accompanying clashes and cutscenes with weight. Shadow of War remains relevant because it doesn't repeat a formula. It rewrites it with every new fight. Nothing here comes easy, not even the first steps. Stray Blade offers demanding combat within a world that seems calm from a distance, but hides threats in every corner. The game combines exploration with a focus on precise duels, where timing matters more than raw damage. It's not about mashing buttons, it's about reading movements, waiting for the right opening, and knowing when to retreat. Every fight demands respect. The progression system blends combat with crafting and skill discovery, always tied to a constant rhythm of evolution. Enemies vary in behavior, and the terrain influences decisions during combat. There's no excess of elements, just the essentials fitting together perfectly. Watching the protagonist's growth carries weight, especially when the consequences start to add up. The environments alternate between forgotten ruins, distorted valleys, and structures that seem to defy natural logic. The art direction focuses on organic shapes and colors that contrast with the constant danger. The world is beautiful, but not friendly. The soundtrack follows the tension subtly, rising at the right moments. Stray Blade doesn't try to please with ease. It wants every victory to be earned with real effort. The threat doesn't just come from bullets, it's the war about to explode. In Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, the mission is to stop a Russian terrorist who wants to throw the world into an irreversible conflict. The single-player campaign follows this trail of destruction with a total focus on coordinated action, precise combat, and rising tension. Each mission is a critical piece on the global board, and failure means yielding to the chaos that's been planned. The gameplay keeps the franchise's fast pace, but shifts smoothly between direct combat, infiltration, and rescue under heavy fire. The battles are varied, blending tactical pressure with visual spectacle. The arsenal responds with precision, the controls are solid, and every weapon has real impact. There's no room for error. The line between success and disaster is always thin, and the game demands attention with each step. The environments range from threatened urban zones to secret operations, each designed to reflect the advancing enemy plan. Urgency is present in every corner, reinforced by heavy sound effects and a soundtrack that amplifies the sense of an impending end. Modern Warfare 3 delivers an intense campaign, where heroism doesn't come from exaggeration, but from a persistence in preventing the world from falling into the abyss. When fantasy meets politics, the battlefield transforms into a high-risk game. The DioField Chronicle bets on this mix, offering a real-time tactical RPG that prioritizes quick decisions and smart positioning. Nothing here is turn-based. War happens in motion, and every command must be precise. The game demands constant field reading, anticipation, and strategic use of abilities. The group's progression is built between battles and decisions made within the barracks. Upgrades, classes, equipment. Everything impacts performance, but nothing shines more than a fluid combat system. Interrupting attacks, flanking enemies, managing ability cooldowns. Every choice changes the outcome of the battle. The team must function like a machine, each unit with a clear role and defined purpose. The world takes on a more somber tone, with dark castles, ruined villages, and war-torn fields in constant tension. The art direction leans towards stylized realism, with cold colors and dramatic lighting that highlight the gravity of each mission. The soundtrack reinforces the political and military weight of the story, delivering something more serious and strategic. The DioField Chronicle doesn't market itself as epic. It builds steadily a conflict that grows inevitably. There are worlds that charm with detail, and Astria Ascending is exactly that. A living painting where every scene seems to be drawn with care and intention. The game sticks to the classic turn-based JRPG format, but with a modern pace and a progression system that rewards planning. The narrative revolves around sacrifice and duty, focusing on characters who know their time is limited. The combat is deep, based on strategies that combine classes and elements. Each character plays a specific role, and over time, evolves not just with new powers, but with decisions that shape the group's style. It's not enough to hit hard. Buffs, debuffs, and alternate turns must be used with intelligence. The challenge increases as you progress, requiring mastery of the system and tactical reading of battles. The artistic direction is the major highlight, with richly animated 2D aesthetics and settings that feel like they've come out of illustrated books. The cities float, the forests glow with soft tones, and every enemy has unique traits. The soundtrack follows the same tone, with delicate and epic tracks that accompany both calm moments and intense confrontations. Astria Ascending delivers fantasy with beauty and depth, unafraid to be classic. There's an immediate charm in Kina Bridge of Spirits, like an interactive animation made to be played with heart and attention. But don't be fooled by the appearance. The game blends challenging combat with emotional exploration, where each step reveals more about a world marked by loss, memories, and reconnections. The story follows the path of healing, but the journey is filled with obstacles and fights that require true focus. The gameplay combines fluid action with the creative use of small spirits called Rot. They help in combat, solve puzzles, and alter the environment, creating moments of respite between tense confrontations. The combat system strikes a good balance between quick attacks, archery, dodges, and special abilities, requiring enemy reading and good timing. Nothing is solved with brute force. Thinking and acting with precision is key. The visuals are breathtaking, with dense forests, villages overtaken by corruption, and forgotten temples. The lighting, particle effects, and character animation create an atmosphere that feels like it's come from a Pixar movie. The soundtrack follows with soft yet striking compositions, helping create an emotional connection with everything you see and do. Bridge of Spirits is about beauty with purpose, where each action holds weight and each moment is worth living. Some games come and go, others remain. The Witcher 3 is one of those that stays as a reference, not only for its massive open world, but for the way it treats each story, and every choice is something that truly matters. There's no minor mission. Even the simplest request can turn into a plot full of twists, consequences, and heavy decisions. It's a game where narrative and freedom walk hand in hand without overshadowing each other. The combat mixes swords, magic signs, potions, and strategy. Facing monsters requires preparation, study, and smart use of resources. The bestiary isn't just for show. Understanding weaknesses, environments, and behaviors makes all the difference. The progression is rich but accessible, and the rhythm of the adventure adapts to the player's style, whether on the main path or in the hundreds of side stories scattered across the map. The world is a living spectacle. Whispering forests, villages full of personality, cities pulsing with politics, trade, and drama. Everything has a reason, everything has context. The soundtrack is strong, melodic, and enters at the right moments to raise tension or deepen emotion. The Witcher 3 isn't just an RPG, it's a narrative milestone that still delivers unforgettable moments, even years after its release. Speed, risk, and aggression define every second in Thymesia. The game bets on a combat system that doesn't forgive mistakes, but rewards those who learn to master the dance between attack and defense with pinpoint precision. The setting is dark, sickly, and everything revolves around a plague consuming the world and its inhabitants, transforming them into twisted horrors. Every fight is a duel, and every boss feels like a nightmare entity. The combat system is built on two pillars: wounds and skill stealing. It's possible to execute combos to break open the enemy, but the decisive blow depends on spectral abilities stolen during the fight. This forces players to maintain pressure and take constant risks. Dodges, parries, and tactical use of special attacks are part of a rhythm that demands complete concentration from start to finish. The environments follow a gothic, infected aesthetic with dark corridors, ruined castles, and laboratories overtaken by corruption. Light enters in controlled ways, creating contrast with enemies that emerge from the shadows. The soundtrack reinforces the atmosphere of urgency and discomfort, always in tune with the tension of combat. Thymesia doesn't hold your hand. It throws you into the middle of the plague and expects you to survive with style. The Last Oricru presents a world divided by racial conflicts, where every decision can flip the game or condemn it all. The game mixes third-person action with narrative choices that alter alliances, dialogues, and entire outcomes. It's not just about fighting, it's about picking a side, understanding the impact, and walking a path that's rarely black and white. Neutrality comes at a price, and involvement arrives quickly. The combat is more direct, focusing on melee weapons, shields, and magic that require movement reading and space control. The progression lets players adjust skills and specializations, offering the freedom to adapt to their preferred style. There are also classic RPG elements, with varied equipment, levels, and interactions that change based on past decisions. It's not just reaction, it's about shaping your journey. The environments alternate between technological fortresses, ancient caves, and floating structures with a visual mix of medieval and sci-fi. The art style has a sober, almost dry tone that fits with the world's constant conflict. Metallic sounds, a tense soundtrack, and silence between dialogues reinforce the feeling of constant tension. The Last Oricru bets big on branching narratives, delivering a story where every choice carries real weight. Cris Tales is a modern tribute to classic JRPGs, but with a creative twist. Time is a central mechanic, visible on-screen and essential in combat. The visual style resembles a moving illustrated book, with settings that change depending on the timeline. Past, present, and future coexist side by side in a system that requires observation and strategy. Every city visited has stories divided into layers of time. The combat is turn-based but goes beyond the traditional. It's possible to cast a poison attack in the present and then throw the enemy into the future to accelerate the effects. This kind of combination adds depth to battles and demands dynamic thinking. Character customization and skill evolution follow a clear path, allowing exploration of different styles without losing the narrative focus. The environments are stylized with clean lines, vibrant colors, and architecture that changes depending on the time's impact. Each region has its own identity, both visually and sonically, with music accompanying the time transitions and reinforcing the emotional tone of each situation. Cris Tales doesn't rely only on nostalgia. It takes the best of the past, plays with the future, and delivers an RPG that still finds new ways to surprise. Isolation, survival, and discovery collide in Windbound, a game that throws you into the open sea without maps or invisible paths. The proposal blends exploration with crafting and light combat, all tied together by subtle narrative and an art direction that evokes both calm and unease. The islands appear one by one, revealing secrets, dangers, and materials essential for continuing the journey. The gameplay revolves around building and upgrading your boat, hunting, collecting, and preparing for the challenges each new island presents. Combat isn't constant, but when it happens, it requires precision and focus. Stamina is limited, resources are scarce, and planning is essential. Every tool crafted, every decision on where to stop or what to carry affects long-term survival. The visual style embraces soft tones, open skies, vibrant waters, and mysterious creatures, creating a setting of simple but engaging beauty. The sound of the sea, the wind, and the subtle music create a tranquil rhythm, broken only by moments of urgency. Windbound is about staying in motion, understanding the silence, and accepting that the journey is as important as the destination. A game that speaks little but says much with what it shows. Sleeping has never been so dangerous and rewarding. Dreamscaper turns dreams into arenas of emotional combat, where each enemy represents the protagonist's traumas, fears, and insecurities. The proposal mixes fast-paced action with character building, alternating between the real world, where connections are made and growth happens, and the dream world, where everything gains shape and intensity. Each night is a new chance to face what hasn't been resolved. The combat is fluid and varied, with weapons ranging from swords to boomerangs, powerful magic, and abilities that completely change the fighting style. The roguelike system ensures that nothing repeats the same way, and progress remains with permanent unlocks that strengthen the protagonist with every attempt. Reflexes are important, but knowing how to build a good skill set is what defines victory. The environments are abstract but full of meaning, with visuals that resemble fragmented memories, empty streets, and dreamlike spaces that shift in form. The color palette changes depending on the dream's tone, and the soundtrack reinforces the duality between calm and conflict. Dreamscaper doesn't just deliver action. It offers an internal journey disguised as a game, where winning means understanding and accepting forgotten parts of yourself. The world has already ended. Now, all that's left is surviving its ruins. Metro Last Light plunges into the dark tunnels of a devastated Moscow, where every bullet counts, every step could be the last, and silence screams louder than any explosion. The tension is constant, not only from mutants or armed enemies, but from the suffocating atmosphere that turns the environment into a character. Fear doesn't come from jump scares, but from presence. The gameplay blends first-person shooting with careful exploration and moments of pure survival. Resources are scarce, lighting is limited, and the player must manage ammunition, gas masks, and exposure time. Nothing is given for free. Even breathing can come at a cost. The rhythm alternates between frantic action and passages of complete silence, creating a contrast that grips you from start to finish. The environments range from claustrophobic tunnels to irradiated surfaces, where the sky feels heavier than the concrete. Light enters with difficulty, shadows dominate, and every corner holds untold stories. The soundtrack is restrained, punctual, reinforcing the sense of isolation. Last Light doesn't try to impress with quantity. It focuses on intensity, which is why it remains relevant, even years after its release. Tell me, which of these games have you had the chance to play? Did any of them spark your curiosity and make you want to add it to your list of next games? We'd love to hear which one caught your attention the most. Feel free to share in the comments if there's any game that should have been on the list but didn't make it. If you can, please subscribe to the channel to help me grow and never again be unsure of what to play. I've left 2 videos in the card, one that I personally selected for you and another that YouTube picked. Just click on either one to watch. Big hug, happy gaming, and see you tomorrow.